Welcome back. Now, I told you I was going to come back and start doing these things. Again, I just didn't give you a schedule. So you didn't know if I was going to do it tomorrow, or the next day, or next week, but they're coming. They're coming out. They're being made. And yesterday, I talked about the Dollar Tree videos and how I might want to make a small mini series about movies you could find at Dollar Tree, or movies that have been found at Dollar Tree. Some of these movies you won't be able to find anymore at Dollar Tree, but you were able to find them in the past at Dollar Tree. This is one of those films that you could find at the dollar store, Dollar Tree, Family Dollar. This is Blue Call, a film by Brian Farmer. Now, a lot of these films with these types of basic covers, and when you look over here, all you could see is Echo Bridge Film Acquisition Group right here. If you see Echo Bridge, it's probably one of those small-time films, or it's just a film that nobody wants. Machine Gun Preacher, the film with Gerard Butler, that's also got an Echo Bridge Film Acquisition Group sticker on it now, and that can also be found at the dollar store. Or I found it there, I didn't pick it up. I think I already have it. But it's big and small films. It's just films that don't do well, or films that are too low budget. Echo Bridge does a lot of good stuff there in regards to putting these films out. And this is an example of one of those very small-timey films. I don't know if we can call it indie films. You might be able to. The budget seems very small. I watched this last night. It's a very short film, about 80 minutes or so. But the story, from what I can tell you, is it's about a paramedic who goes wild, killer paramedic. Interesting story. I don't know how much I can say about this right now, but you won't find too many big channels talking about this movie. I know I didn't find it from my brief few moments of searching for it. I found a couple smaller channels talking about it, but that's about it. And that's probably where it's going to stay. You're not going to find any big channels talking about this film and a lot of these other films that I might start talking about. But if this channel ever blows up, then you could say that this might be one of the first channels, big channels, that talks about small-time movies like these. Shouldn't like that I'll ever get there. But hey, so what is Blue Call about? It's shot pretty amateurishly. It's not The Room levels of bad, and like bad so bad it's good, but in terms of cinematography, or whatever you want to call it, that type of level of filming and that type of level of acting, minus the legendary Tommy Wiseau, that type of line delivery from people is what you're going to find in this type of film, in these types of movies. And there's a lot of these out there, a lot of them out there. There's a lot of people who have an idea, who have a dream, but they don't have any money. So they do it anyway, though. They make it anyway. They make the film anyways. And it doesn't really go too far. It ends up in the dollar store. Echo Bridge picks it up. But hey, you might say that had Echo Bridge not picked this up, this might just be locked in the dark underbellies of some streaming service somewhere. I think somebody's got this somewhere. But I know the Dollar Tree is the first place I found this. So thank you, Echo Bridge. Did I enjoy it? I watched it all the way through. The opening 15 minutes was so gratingly hard to watch that I almost took it out of the player. But I stopped myself. I left it on. And around the 30-minute mark, Stockholm Syndrome started to kick in, and I started to get attached to the main character, and I wanted to see where she went, what she was going to do, how far she was going to fall down this rabbit hole of killer paramedic thing. I think this started to get a little political here in regards to like euthanasia-assisted suicide, medically assisted suicide, because the first time you see her kill somebody, if you can call it killing, is there is this person in a bathtub, and they slit their wrists. They're basically attempting to commit suicide. And they called the paramedics not so that they could stop them, but because they didn't want to die alone. And that kind of hit. And I think they did that very as well as they could do it. And the person that they got there is, I don't know how big they are, I don't know how popular they are, but you might be able to have heard of them on RuPaul's Drag Race. They're pretty involved in that type of thing. If you want to look up the cast of this movie, you'll find them. You'll recognize them right away. But that was the person who was in the bathtub with the slit wrists, and they didn't want to die alone. So this lady here gives the main character, the paramedic. I don't know her name. Okay, most of these people, I don't know their names. None of them. I wasn't as invested to know people's names. I just know what happened. So she gives the person in the bathtub a drug. I forget what it's called, Nimitol or something, whatever. It's one of those very, 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 very powerful drugs. And if you're overdosed, you're dead in seconds. You're gone. It's painless. It's very quick. And she had a bleeding heart for this person, and she decided to help them pass quicker without pain. So that's what they did. And then there's this subplot about a cop investigating this and going like, oh, this person died and there's this drug in their system. And they'll cut back to this cop figuring these out, and as more and more bodies start showing up with this drug in their system that look like suicide, and the guy's wondering where this drug's coming from, how this is happening, is this all connected? But this plot line goes nowhere because it doesn't get resolved at the end of the film. It doesn't. And there, on the back of the film here, it says, on the back of the case, this little film description says that she's being harassed by some sort of stalker killer thing. But that plotline doesn't go anywhere. That stalker killer dude doesn't bother her particularly, the main character lady right here. It doesn't bother her at all, the guy. So, I don't know how well you could trust this. I never read the backs here when it comes to these Echo Bridge films. I never read the back because it's usually just a hype, and it's usually very misleading. It was misleading to me because I didn't see the killer stalking her at all. All that was happening was she went to a drug dealer to procure illegally more of this Nibutol or whatever they call it. She wanted to procure more of this so that she can perform more euthanasia, which is illegal in her state. And she wanted to help people pass. And a lot of people are paying her to do this. So now she's like some sort of like hired euthanist, euthanasiast, however you want to call it. So she's starting to get mentally bogged down from this. And she's starting to become mentally unhinged. And then when the drug dealer gives her pays her $10,000 to help one of his buddies pass, apparently the person she picks up at the location the drug dealer provides is a cop. So she gives the cop something to the Nibutol or whatever, and the cop dies or something, and then she's all freaking out about it, and she's going like, well, how do I cover this up, this is a cop, blah, 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 blah. So she goes back to the drug dealer goes like, dude, you picked up the wrong dude, man. And then he shows her the phone call, the recorded phone call of his buddy wondering where she was. So she basically picked up the wrong dude and killed the wrong dude, who just so happened to be a cop. So now she's freaking out more and more. She's becoming more and more mentally unhinged. And there is a lot of scenes in the shower. You don't see anything, but like any suggestive things. But she's in the shower. There's a lot of scenes of her just standing in the shower. The first scene at the start of the film, she's standing in the shower. She's all fine. The second scene, after she helps that person pass, she's starting to get unhinged. And then after helping other people pass the euthanasia or whatever, she's starting to get more and more unhinged. And then after the cop goes down, she's really freaking out. She's screaming. She's shivering. She's in the bathtub. All that stuff is happening, and she's going nuts. And she never gets caught, but she does end up doing some drugs with a drug dealer, and she ends up catching this serial killer dude and helping him pass, despite him wanting to or not. She now becomes the killer paramedic or something. But this serial killer dude, apparently, he goes after this other woman in the film that we don't know. She's just there for like 2 or 3 minutes. She's talking on the phone. The killer captures her and does things to her, and she's really messed up afterwards. And the paramedic finds her. So apparently that's how she gets introduced to the serial killer plot line. And for some reason, she hunts down the serial killer dude that messed up that girl, and she messes him up with her needle thing here. But yeah, that's about all that happens in this film. The cop plotline doesn't get resolved. It just ends with her going like, "Trust me, I'm a paramedic," and then the film fades to black. You could tell that this was very, 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 very low budget, shoestring budget. They probably rented some equipment, and they used the people on hand that they could get. A lot of people were introduced, and then they just never show up again. There's this girl's boss, who's like this white-haired old dude, who reassigns her, and then he's gone. And she has a friend who was her partner in the ambulance, and then she's gone. A lot of people just show up, say things, and then they're gone. It just sticks with her and her partner in the ambulance and the drug dealer, basically. That's about all. That's about it. It's not super competently made as you'd find in, say, it's not competently made as a production house film, like, say, 1917 production house film. Why do I say production? I don't know. Like a big time company like Universal. It's not like one of the big 5 picture companies. It's not like that. It's not even like a smaller time company like A24. It is really down there, really down in the budget. Down. It's one of those films. And it's not made with the intention of being one of those films like Asylum does. This is just one of the many films that people just come together and make, and Echo Bridge gobbles up and spits out on DVD at dollar stores. Because I doubt you'll find this anywhere else. I don't even think used media stores would pick these things up to resell unless they put them in the dollar bin. Oh, yeah, dollar bins. But yeah, that's my discussion of Blue Call. I enjoyed it enough to rate it a C. Anything I rate a C is a film I'd watch from start to finish. It's very hard to get into for the first 20-30 minutes, but once those third 20-30 minutes pass, Stockholm Syndrome kicks in, and you're invested in the character, and you want to see where it goes. It doesn't go too many places, but it goes somewhere. I might continue the Adventure Files next time. I definitely want to make a video about Magnet Films. Magnet Films is the other company you can find at dollar stores. Right here, they usually show Magnet here, and they're usually more competently made movies. Like Journey to the West here. This has a bigger budget, but it's Magnet. Other films like Centurion, with Michael Fassbender, that's Magnet Films. Black Death with Sean Bean, that's Magnet Films. There's a lot of them out there, and I've got a fair few here that I picked up over the years from the dollar stores that are from Magnet Films that I'd like to talk about sometime in the future. I don't know when I'm going to get to it, but I'll get to it eventually. But hey, this was my first dollar store review. If you could call it a review. I never do any major research, like look into who Brian Farmer is. I know it's just his film, as it says, a film by Brian Farmer. I talk about these films as an audience member. I don't talk about these films as a film critic. I don't talk about these films as anybody with professional knowledge about how films are made. I talk about these films as you would talk to somebody at a party or just on a chat site, whatever. I talk about these films as you talk to somebody about movies. Somebody who's passionate about movies, who just likes to discuss the movie from the audience standpoint, as I've said in a couple other of these videos. But that's how you're going to find these films delivered from me. It's just from an audience perspective. That's about it. I don't know how to end things. Remember, be imaginative.